Reset. ඇහෙනව නේද?
ඇහෙනවා හොඳට ඇහෙනවා. හරි.
Please everybody say
අවුරුදු
Dhamma tassa.
චරණ නම.
නමෝ තස්ස භගවතු වරහතෝ සම්මා සම්බුද්දස්ස නමෝ තස්ස භගවතු වරහතෝ සම්මා සම්බුද්දස්ස නමෝ තස්ස භගවතු වරහතෝ සම්මා සම්බුද්දස්ස
Buddhaං සරණං ගච්ඡාමි.
බුද්ධං සරණං ගච්ඡාමි
Dhammං සරණං ගච්ඡාමි.
Dhammam Sharanam Gacchami.
Sanghං සරණං ගච්ඡාමි.
Sangam Gacchami.
Dutiyampi buddhaං සරණං ගච්ඡාමි.
Dutiyampi Dhammam Sharanam Gacchami.
Dutiyampi dhammං සරණං ගච්ඡාමි. Dutiyampi සංඝං සරණං ගච්ඡාමි.
සංඝං සරණං ගච්ඡාමි
Tatiyampi buddhaං සරණං ගච්ඡාමි.
බුද්ධං සරණං ගච්ඡාමි
Tatiyampi dhammං සරණං ගච්ඡාමි.
ධම්මං සරණං ගච්ඡාමි
Tatiyampi සංඝං සරණං ගච්ඡාමි.
සංඝං සරණං ගච්ඡාමි
පාණාති පාතා වේරමණී සික්ඛාපදං සමාදියාමි.
අතිපාතා වේරමණී සික්ඛාපදං සමාදියාමි
අදින්නාදානා වේරමණී සික්ඛාපදං සමාදියාමි.
දින්නාදානා වේරමණී සික්ඛාපදං සමාදියාමි
ආමේසු මිච්ඡාචාරා වේරමණී සික්ඛාපදං සමාදියාමි.
මුචමිච්ඡාචාරා වේරමණී සික්ඛාපදං සමාදියාමි
මුසාවාදා වේරමණී සික්ඛාපදං සමාදියාමි.
වාදා වේරමණී සික්ඛාපදං සමාදියාමි
සුරාමේරය මච්චපමා දට්ඨානා වේරමණී සික්ඛාපදං සමාදියාමි.
මේරේ මජ්ජපමා දට්ඨානා වේරමණී සික්ඛාපදං සමාදියාමි
මානි පංච සික්ඛාපදානි සමාදියාමි. සීලේන සුගතින් යන්ති සීලේන භෝග සම්පදා සීලේන නිබ්බුතින් යන්ති තස්මා සීලං විසෝදයේ.
සාදු සාදු
සමන්තා චක්කවාලේසු අත්‍රා ගච්ඡන්තු දේවතා සද්දම්මං මුනි රාජස්ස සුනන්තු සග්ග මොක්ඛදං ධම්මස්සවන කාලෝ අයං බදන්තා. ධම්මස්සවන කාලෝ අයං බදන්තා. ධම්මස්සවන කාලෝ අයං බදන්තා. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Cattaro me bhikkhave dhamma bahukara jatassa purisa puggalassati. Good evening, everybody. Today you are joining the annual rain retreat puja organized by Florida Buddhist Vihara under the guidance of our Venerable Ananda and other residents, monks. Now you are joining this program places, and also you are going to hear this Dharma sermon for your immediate and everlasting welfare and happiness. Today, this Dhamma sermon is sponsored by Mrs. Badrani Branasinghe, Mrs. Tushari Edirivira, along with their three sons, Mr. Asanga Edirivira, Mr. Shaluka Edirivira, Mr. Darshana Edirivira. The mere purpose to sponsor this excellent meritorious deed is to transfer merit to beloved late Jaisari Edirivira. The Buddha mentioned, Deme bhikkhave dhanani. There are two kinds of dana. Sabbadhanang dhammadhanang jinati. Among them, or among all charities, the giving Dhamma excels. Sometimes you may have a question, why the Dhamma is so important rather than the material things. We are living in a sophisticated world. We have very sophisticated devices and other items to make our lives more easy. Therefore, sometimes we have to really concern with those modern sophisticated things and material things. In terms of the Buddha, we have desire toward material things temporary. Think about the character of the Buddha. Basically, we know Prince Siddhartha was born to a very richest family in India at that time. He had every luxurious things. His father built him 3 palaces, which were known as Ramya, Suramya, and Subha, with reference to the Buddhist literature and the Buddhist commentary. There had been more than 40,000 servants on those 3 palaces to serve the Prince Siddhartha. But when he was 29 years old, he was worried about the material things. His father, King Suddhodana, wanted him to be a very powerful ruler over the India. But the Prince Siddhartha abandoned all those material things and he wanted to find the everlasting happiness. He could share his all material things with other people, maybe poor people, maybe the people who really concerned with material things. But it is very evident if he shared those material things, maybe he could get temporary happiness, and the people and the individuals who received those material things, they also could get a temporary happiness. Therefore, he wanted to find the everlasting happiness. As we know, he practiced rigorous meditation. He mortified his physical body in order to be an awakened person. Anyway, he knew that mortification isn't the correct way in order to achieve the liberation. Therefore, he started to follow the middle path, and eventually he became an awakened one who was known as later on the Buddha. The Buddha knew the importance of this Dharma. So that's why he all the time instructed his followers to be virtuous people, to be righteous people by following his Dharma. Because of when somebody else follows the Buddha's teaching, that individual isn't supposed to go hell to get rebirth as hungry gods, animal beings, and it very helpful to get repeatedly rebirth in this human planet, sometime in divine realm, Brahma realm, and if anybody really follows the Buddha's teaching, definitely it brings the everlasting happiness or nirvana. Therefore, if anybody shares the Buddha's teaching, that is very helpful to elevate our spirituality. That's the main reason the Buddha all the time advised to share his teaching with other people. Therefore, the all sponsors today who are going to sponsor this Dharma sermon is doing very excellent action. We have to really appreciate them. Now, you have to concentrate within these few minutes what I am going to explain, because of some time traditionally we are hearing Dharma, the Buddha's teaching. Sometimes we don't have much care, much investigation about the Buddha's teaching. Earlier, I mentioned a sentence from Anguttara Nikaya. The name of the sutta is Bahukara. Bahukara means very helpful. As I mentioned earlier, the Buddha was born before 2000 and around 600 years in India. Whatever he understood about the world, and then he explained his understanding to other people. That's the thing we are called the Dharma. The Buddha understood the real absolute truth that concern not only about this world, but about the whole universe, which we call the Dharma. Therefore, he wanted to share his understanding with other people. The reason is the Buddha had very special few knowledges. Sometimes you have heard Pubbe Nivanussati Jnana, the Buddha, sometimes some other liberated ones could remember the previous lives of all, not only human being, but also the whole sentient beings in this universe. And also he had another knowledge which we call Dibba Sota, Dibba Chakku. With those knowledges, those Buddha and other liberated one could hear the sound anywhere else in this universe, and they could see the all forms around this universe. Especially the Buddha knew how long we have traveled in this samsara. And if we don't work urgently, how long we have to continue in the future in this samsara. Therefore, the Buddha wanted to show how to immediate stop this samsaric journey. That is the reason the Buddha's teaching is very helpful to follow in order to immediately or eventually stop this samsara. In hellish state or in hells, we cannot see the Buddha's teaching, because of that is not a place where the Buddha's teaching is reached. Among hungry gods, we cannot see the Buddha's teaching. In animal kingdom, we cannot see the Buddha's teaching, because of those people are not able to understand the Buddha's teaching. And we can see the Buddha's teaching in divine realm, because of some divine being visited the Buddha to ask some question and discuss the Dharma with the Buddha. And Brahma realm, we can see the Buddha's teaching. And it is very evident sometimes there are some kind of divine beings who heard teaching from another Buddhas. Sometimes you have heard Gatikara Brahma, who gave clothes and ball when the Bodhisattva renounced his palace. The Gatikara Brahma, he is living in Aviha realm, and he reached to non-returner Anagami in the time of the Kassapa Buddha. Sometime in other Brahma realm, there are some Brahmas who heard sometime teaching from other Buddhas as well. But human planet is a different place. It is very nice because of we are not living in hells. We are not living in divine realm or Brahma realm. And this is the only place where a Buddha is emerged and where the Buddha's teaching is available. Therefore, we are very lucky. Even the Buddha passed away 25 centuries ago, still the Buddha's teaching is available. And the Buddha's disciple or Buddhist monk is still available around this human planet in order to make success in every manner of our lives. Actually, this is in another way, this is a very important chance that we have gotten. Think about wheel turning monarch. Sometimes you have heard about the Chakravarti Raja. A wheel turning monarch isn't born in a time of a Buddha. He is supposed to born when a Buddha's teaching is not available in this human planet. In a Chakravarti Sutta, the Buddha mentioned even a Chakravarti or the wheel turning monarch is not able or not lucky to follow the Buddha's teaching because of he cannot see a Buddha, he cannot hear the Dhamma, he cannot associate the Buddha's disciple or Buddhist monk. Think about how we are lucky to associate the Buddha's teaching, to serve the Buddha's teaching. Therefore, don't ignore this precious moment when you have a chance. Try to associate the Buddha, to understand the Buddha's teaching, and to serve the Buddha's disciple, because of this is the only three ways that is very helpful to make our samsaric journey very nicely. In that sutta, I mentioned Bahukara Sutta, the Buddha mentioned about 4 factors that is very helpful to elevate our human lives. The first one, Sappurisa Sangsevo. Sappurisa Sangsevo means association with good people. What is the reason? The Buddha mentioned the lives of all human beings are depend on the good association. So that's why the Buddha mentioned to associate Buddha, his disciple as well. Once Venerable Ananda visited the Buddha, and Venerable Ananda explained to the Buddha, Venerable Sir, the celibacy of us, actually the half of the celibacy of us depend on the good friendship. Then the Buddha mentioned, don't say Ananda like that. Don't say Ananda like that. The whole celibacy of you depend on the good companionship. We know that when we live in this world, we have to associate different kind of people. Sometimes we are doing different kind of jobs for our livelihood. We have to meet different kind of people. Sometimes good people, sometimes toxic people. Sometimes we are not able to understand good or bad people. It takes some time, but we have to understand the good people and abandon the evil, toxic people. The reason is, if we have to associate evil, wicked, toxic people, we cannot expect any kind of development in our lives. So that's why the Buddha repeatedly mentioned to associate the good people. It is very known story about Devadatta. Think about the character of Devadatta. He was born to a very aristocratic family, actually the cousin of the Buddha, but his mind was overwhelmed with desire and other evil thoughts. He couldn't control those evil thoughts. Even he was lucky to associate the Buddha, one of his very closest relative. He earned a mundane jhana absorption, and then he got the mind of Ajatasattu. He directed Ajatasattu to kill his beloved father, King Bimbisara. Therefore, King Ajatasattu also had to go hell because of the association of toxic people, evil people. Devadatta, he made schism, he split the Sangha, and he wanted to kill the Buddha. Think about how vicious his mind is. And he did committed other different kind of evil action. Therefore, he went to the bottom level of hell. And all people who associated Devadatta had to face the same situation. Most of them had to go to the hell. Therefore, a good association is very important to develop our lives in all men. So that is the first factor the Buddha mentioned to associate the good people. And the second one, Saddhamma Savanang. Saddhamma Savanang means to hear the good teaching. Why the Buddha mentioned Saddhamma Savana? And sometimes you know the meaning of Dharma. Dharma is the Sanskrit term. Pali term is Dhamma. Saddhamma. The reason is sometimes you have heard different kind of heretic views that were in the time of the Buddha. All of them were concerned only with two extremes, Kamasukallikanu yoga, and Attakilamatanu yoga. The people who indulge in pleasing the sensual pleasures, and on the other hand, some people who indulge, mostly engage self-mortification, were known as Asat Dhamma in terms of Buddha. Because of the people who have all luxurious things, they think nothing happens after this life. Whatever we have material things, we have to associate them. We have to consume them. We have to really enjoy this life. No need to seek, no need to investigate about another life, about another destination that will happen to after this death. In this sense, that kind of Dhamma, the Buddha mentioned as Asat Dhamma. Asat Dhamma means the follower is led to bad destination. On the other hand, the self-mortification, especially in Jainism, Nigantanatha Putta emphasizes we are not able to stop this samsaric journey. We have to wait till the end, like a ball of thread. When somebody did let it go, that person has to wait the end. Therefore, the Jainism also, especially led by Nigantanatha Putta, led the people to an unimaginable destination. That kind of extreme or teaching was recognized by the Buddha as Asat Dhamma. Only the Buddha's teaching is known as Saddhamma because of it brings immediate happiness. I think you are following the Buddha's teaching for a longer time. Therefore, you have enough understanding about the Buddha's teaching. When we do right thing physically, verbally, mentally, we are very happy. Think about that immediate happiness. When we repeatedly do good thing, then we are not supposed to go to hell, animal realm, hungry gods, or then we can get good rebirth in this human planet or divine realm, or one day or eventually achieve the liberation. Therefore, hearing the Buddha's teaching is very important. Actually, to hear the Buddha's teaching sometimes is relevant with the first factor, because of without the association of good people, sometimes we cannot do it. Think about the story of Venerable Sariputta and Moggallana. They associated number of heretic teachers, but they couldn't find the everlasting happiness. All the time they had an agreement. Whenever one of them find a good teacher, they have to inform one another. Then when Venerable Sariputta met the Venerable Assaji, one of the 5 earlier disciple of the Buddha, then he immediately informed this matter to Venerable Moggallana. Earlier I mentioned about the Gatikara. Gatikara was a very poor Actually, he was a potter who make earthen in the time of Buddha Kassapa. He had a friend, his name was Jyotipala. Actually, our Bodhisattva at that time was born as the Jyotipala. After hearing the Buddha's, after hearing the teaching from the Kassapa Buddha, the Gatikara, he became a non-returner. Then he wanted to give this precious present to his friend Jyotipala. He asked Jyotipala to 3 times to visit the Buddha Kassapa and hear the teaching. But he couldn't do it. But fortunately, when he asked another time, then he visited the Buddha Kassapa, and after hearing the teaching from the Buddha Kassapa, even he got the ordination. Sometimes, if Jyotipala, the younger person, did not hear the teaching of the teaching from the Buddha Kassapa, sometimes he had to expect very bad destination. Therefore, the association of good people is very helpful to hear the teaching of a Buddha, because of only the good people know the teaching of a Buddha. Then the third factor is mentioned as the Yoniso Manasikara. Yoniso Manasikara means thoroughly investigation of the Buddha's teaching or whatever somebody heard. Because of, as I mentioned earlier, sometimes we hear number of discourses delivered by Buddha's disciple, delivering by Buddha's disciple. Because of with the modern technology, it is very easy to access the Buddha's teaching. When we go on a website, number of discourses we can even read. When we go to the YouTube, we can hear number of Buddha's teaching. Maybe in Theravada tradition, in Mahayana tradition, in Vajrayana tradition, maybe from Sri Lanka, Thailand, Burma, and all around the world. But the problem is sometimes we don't have much investigation about the Buddha's teaching. That is the thing we have to do. Think about the story of Venerable Sariputta. Venerable Sariputta never heard much teaching from the Buddha. Only few words. Ye Dhamma Hetuppabhava. The cause and effect elaborated by Venerable Assaji. Think about other lot of disciples who reached the nirvana in the time of the Buddha. Sometimes they heard only few words. Sometimes they heard only a single thing that elaborated by the Buddha. Because of they had the keen knowledge to understand the Buddha's teaching. Sometimes we are not the people who lived at that time, but it is better to thoroughly investigate about the Buddha's teaching. What does mean the investigation or thoroughly examination? Think about the 5 precepts all the time. Today also, sometimes you observe 5 precepts: not to kill, not to steal, not to lie, adultery, intoxicant. Not just to observe, think about the importance of those 5 precepts at least. Not to kill a sentient being, the first precept. Why? All the sentient beings have right to live somewhere else in this human planet. If we going to deprive their lives, it's in a good action. If we going to harm them, we don't have a good mind. We don't have good thoughts like loving kindness, compassion, altruistic joy, equanimity. Then we are doing akusala. Akusala means not skillful things. As far as we concern with akusala or unskillful activities, physically, verbally, mentally, we have to continue this endless samsara. So that's why the Buddha introduced the 5 precepts, at least for lay people, to shorten this samsaric journey. If we can observe thoroughly at least these 5 precepts, we are very skillful people because of we are harboring all the time good thoughts in our mind. Then it's bring immediate happiness and everlasting happiness as well. Sometimes you have heard about the story about Venerable Rahula, the Buddha's own son. In Maharahulawada Sutta, Ambalattika Rahulawada Sutta, the Buddha mentioned when we going to do any kind of physical, verbal, mental action, we have to consider before doing if this action going to harm ourselves, not to do that kind of action. If this action going to harm other people, better not to that kind of action. If this action going to harm ourselves and other people, better not to do that kind of action. If any action is helpful to ourselves, other people, and both of then better have to do that kind of action. So that is the way to think about the action very thoroughly that we are going to do. And also think about the Buddha's all teaching that you have heard before, then we can have a clear comprehension, clear understanding about the Buddha's teaching. And finally, the fourth factor is mentioned as Dhammanu Dhamma Patipatti. Dhammanu Dhamma Patipatti means practicing the Buddha's teaching very clearly. Because of the Buddha's teaching isn't just to hear and put aside immediately. The Buddha's teaching is very helpful to our mundane and supramundane lives. Earlier, I mentioned the story about King Ajatasattu. He had to associate evil, wicked, bad people. Therefore, he had to expect, he had to receive bad destination. He went to the hell. On the other hand, there are a number of people who followed the Buddha's teaching and who brought immediate happiness after hearing the Buddha's teaching, and even who reached to nirvana as the last final result of following the Buddha's teaching. Earlier I mentioned about Venerable Sariputta and Moggallana. They were very rich people who had all luxurious things. The commentary mentioned when Upatissa and Kolita, before their ordination in the Buddhist order, wherever they go, each of them was followed by 500 horse carts. When Upatissa and Kolita went somewhere, there were 1,000 horse carts. Think about their richness. Can we afford at least 5, 6, 10 cars where when we go? Sometimes it is very difficult. Only we have 1 car, 2 cars. Sometimes we have to pay monthly. We sometimes live day to day, week to week, month to month, year to year. With a good association, they abandon all material thing. I am not suggesting you to abandon all material thing. Material thing is very important for lay people. The Buddha never condemned it. But those people who followed the Buddha's teaching, they abandon all thing, all luxurious thing, and eventually they reach to nirvana. The Buddha advises, especially for monks, Seveta Bhikkave Sariputta Moggallane, Bhajata Bhikkave Sariputta Moggallane. As monks, associate Venerable Sariputta and Moggallana. Because of those were the super spiritual people in Buddha's order. The Buddha compares Venerable Sariputta to a mother. Sayatapi Janetti Sariputto. Venerable Sariputta like a mother. Venerable Moggallana to a father. Think about, we know that our mothers and fathers are the most important people in our lives. They provide all important things to make success our lives. Without them, sometimes we are not today in this level, in this position, in these countries or somewhere else or something else. Think about why the Buddha compared Venerable Sariputta and Moggallana to mother and father respectively. Because of in the terms of spiritual, they were the people who could bring the immediate everlasting happiness for renounced people. And on the other hand, the Buddha compares Venerable Kema and Uppalavanna to lay women. Kema was one of queen of King Bimbisara. She was very arrogant. She didn't want to visit the Buddha. But King Bimbisara, actually he reached to non-returner when the Buddha visited to Rajagaha city after years of his enlightenment. Therefore, he knew the happiness of this spirituality. He wanted to give one of his closest person, the Kema. He made a strategy to bring Kema to the Buddha. Even she was very arrogant about her beauty. The Buddha made miracles, and eventually she wanted to um, uh, enter the Buddha's order. Then she was very wise, like Venerable Sariputta. She was the foremost disciple among bhikkhunis. And on the other hand, Uppalavanna is similar to Venerable Moggallana, who could miracle powers. The Buddha mentioned if any renounced female want to follow Buddha's teaching, they should be like Kema and Uppalavanna. If any layperson want to be a good person, the Buddha mentioned they should be like Chitta, the householder, because of even he spent a lay life, he was a non-returner. While following the Buddha's teaching, he already spent very successfully his mundane life. There are some other examples as well. Think about Millennium Anathapindika. He got revelation under the Buddha Dipankara to be a foremost chief lay disciple who practiced charity in a future Buddha. In this very life, he was born in Savatthi, very rich person, merchant, millennial. As you know, he spent more than 550 millions to build Jetavana monastery. While the Buddha was living in Rajagaha city, he wanted to visit the Buddha immediately. And he visited the Buddha early in the morning. After hearing, he also became an extreme enterer, Sotapanna. After that, he was continuing the Buddha's teaching. The Samsuttas and commentary explain every day he supported around 200 Buddha disciples in his own home. And finally, he died and was born in the Tusita heaven. He is getting rebirth 7 times Sattakatu Parama, and eventually he will reach to the Nirvana. And think about the character of Visakha, one of the well-known characters. The Buddhist literature explain when she was 7 years old, when the Buddha visited to her home time, she became an extreme enterer. After that, she was following the Buddha's teaching. She was married, and when she died, sometimes it is unbelievable, she had 24,000 grandchildren because of by herself gave 10 times 20. Then we have to multiply 20 with 20 like that. She lived 120 years. Even at her last moment, she had the 5 kind of beauty. That means hair, teeth, the flesh of the body, and like that. She had 5 things. And she spent very successfully her mundane life. Therefore, the Buddha's teaching not only for the Buddhist monk, and the Buddha's teaching is very helpful for the lay people. We have to determine, even we are living sometimes very chaotic, very busy world, very complex society, all the time we have to apply the Buddha's teaching. Think about simply about those 5 factors: association with good people, hearing the Buddha's teaching, uh, thoroughly investigation and practicing the Buddha's teaching. Don't limit the teaching to a particular area. In daily life, we have to apply the Buddha's teaching. Then we can be happier people, nice people, and we can make our samsaric journey very successful, and eventually we can achieve the liberation. Actually, in another place, the Buddha mentioned those factors as Sotapatti Anga, the factors of reaching to Sotapatti. The same factors, Sappurisa Samsevo, Saddhamma Savanam, Yoniso Manasikara, and Dhammanudhamma Patipatti. Think about why the Buddha mentioned those things in 2 ways. If anybody wants to be very spiritual people, very quickly they have to follow those 4 factors. In lay life, in mundane life, if anybody want to be a successful person in every manner, he can apply those things. Think about from our childhood. If we have to associate wicked people, then our lives collapse. If somebody hasn't a chance to hear the teaching of the Buddha, they also cannot expect a good, bright future like that. We have met number of people. Actually, their childhood and even the teenager, even the young people, they had to face number of difficulties because of they couldn't have good friends, they couldn't have any access to good teaching, and they couldn't have any chance to investigate about the real meaning of the life, and even they couldn't make any success in their lives because of not good guidance. Actually, the Buddha's teaching is the good guidance. As far as we concern with those good guidance, we have to be very successful people. Therefore, think about those factors, those concerned with lay life or mundane life and supramundane lives. By following those good teaching, determined to be happier, very successful, and concern this teaching for the success of our samsaric journey. I think the time is over. If you have any question about the teaching, I can give a few minutes. Any question? Do you have any question? If you don't have any question, I would like to conclude my sermon today. Akasatta ca bummatta devanaga mahiddika Punyantang anumoditva chiran rakkantu loka sasanam chiran rakkantu desanam chiran rakkantu mang sada. After observing five precepts and hearing the Dhamma, you have the pure mind. That means you have merit in your mind, especially Mrs. Badrani, Mrs. Tusari Edrivira, and Mr. Asanga Shaluka Darshana would like to transfer this merit to beloved late Jayasiri Edrivira. May the Jayasiri Edrivira receive this merit. May he meet all comfort in this samsara. Eventually, by the power of this merit, may he attain to supreme bliss of nirvana. Keeping this intention, please say sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. By the power of all this merit, may all of you be happy, healthy, and peaceful. May not any harm, any difficulties, any disturb come upon you. May all the good things happen to you. And also by the power of this merit, may your samsaric journey be very successful, and eventually may this merit concern to achieve supreme bliss of nirvana. Please say sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
චරණ
හඳුනේ
කැමරාව
ආදවන්න
Thank you so much, Venerable Dr. Kemananda, who has given Dhamma talk today. Actually, I invited him to be with us today, this morning. As I mentioned earlier, today Dhamma talk supposed to give Venerable Dr. Rahula. Unfortunately, he get a little bit sick today. That's why I invited to our Venerable. He accepted that and also the giver Dhamma talk. Thank you so much, Bhante. You sharing Dhamma with our devotees. As well as I would like to say thanks to you all who participated today here our Dhamma talk. And also I would like to encourage you, please ask your children to come to listening to this Dhamma talk, because these days we do not have the Dhamma school here. Very soon we are going to start actually Dhamma school at the temple, but still they can hear this Dhamma talk. Bhante explain things very simply. The children also can understand everything. So keep in your mind, please, our parents and devotees, give them chance to join with us. තෙරුවන් සරණයි අපේ දායක පින්වතුනි. සියලු දෙනාම අද හොඳ පින්කමකට සම්බන්ධ වුණා. විශේෂයෙන් මෙම ධර්ම දේශනාවේ දායකත්වයේ දරපු භද්‍රාණී රණසිංහ මහත්මිය, ඒ වගේම තුසාරි එදිරිවීර මහත්මිය, අසංග එදිරිවීර මහත්මයා, සාලුක එදිරිවීර මහත්මයා සහ දර්ශන එදිරිවීර මහත්මයා කියන මේ පවුලේ හැම බලාපොරොත්තුනේ තමන්ගේ දයාබර පියාණන්ට පින් අනුමෝදන් කිරීමට ජයසිරි එදිරිවීර මහත්මයාට ඉතින් ඒ සඳහා ඒ මහත්මයාගේ හිතවත් මහත්මීන් කීප දෙනෙකුත් විශේෂයෙන් ගායනාත් ප්‍රනාන්දු මහත්මයා, ඒ වගේම මන්ද්‍රික ගුණරත්න මහත්මයා වගේ ඒ පියතුමන් ආශ්‍රය කරපු අය මේ පින්කමට සම්බන්ධ වුණා. ඒ වගේම අපේ අනිකුත් සියලුම දායක පින්තුන් සම්බන්ධ වුණා. ඒ පින් අනුමෝදන් කරන්නට යෙදුණා. අපි අනිත් පින්තුන්ටත් ආරාධනා කරනවා තවත් තම තමන්ගේ හිත මිත්‍ර හැම කෙනෙක්ම මේ පුණ්‍ය කර්මයට සහ සම්බන්ධ කරගෙන මේ වස් කාල සීමාව තුළ විහාරස්ථානයේ විසින් සංවිධානය කරනු ලැබ ඇති මේ පින්කම් මාලාවට සම්බන්ධ වෙන විදිහට. හොඳයි, එහෙනම් සියලු දෙනාටම තෙරුවන් සරණයි. නැවත අපි ලබන සෙනසුරාදා සවස් 7ට මේ සුපුරුදු ආකාරයට සම්බන්ධ වෙන්න. ඒ වගේම ගිලන්පස බුද්ධ පූජාව සහ සෙත් පිරිත් සජ්ජායනාවටත් මේ හැම කෙනෙක්ම සම්බන්ධ වෙන විදිහට මම ඊටම කාර්මිකව දැනුම් දීමක් කරනවා. හොඳයි සියලු දෙනාටම පෙරවන් සරණයි.
සරණයි හාමුදුරනේ බොහොම පිං.
හොඳයි පෙරවන් සරණයි.
බොහොම පිං හාමුදුරනේ බොච්චර කරන්නයි.
පෙරවන් සරණයි.
තෙරුවන් සරණයි හාමුදුරනේ.
හොඳයි නෝන පෙරවන් සරණයි.
තෙරුවන් සරණයි හාමුදුරනේ හොඳ බණක් ඇහුවා.
හොඳයි නෝන පෙරවන් සරණයි.
තෙරුවන් සරණයි.
ලබන සතිය හම්බෙමුකෝ.
හොඳයි.
සරණයි ස්වාමීන් වහන්සේ.
හොඳයි පෙරවන්. Lokesh, are you there?
Yes, we are here. Thank you very
Ah,
much, Vinteji.
Thank you so much
very
for
much. Very
participation.
good. Yes.
Hemant, are you there too?
තෙරුවන් සරණයි හාමුදුරනේ.
පෙරවන් සරණයි. චරණ එහෙනම් අපි සම්බන්ධතාවය නතර කරමු.
හොඳයි හාමුදුරනේ.
ආ. හරි එහෙනම් තේරුම් සරණයි.
හොඳයි.